again back with another episode of a Nerds podcast. Today, I have some pretty cool person in my studio today. It was Dustin Simmons from Dream Analysis. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Cool. I really appreciate it. Basically, my podcast is basically called Nerds Podcast. Is basically covers music, movies, cartoons, video games, horror movies, anything basically nerd likes, or anyone who's a big fan of. You don't have to be necessarily a nerd, but you just if you're a huge fan of any topics, a niche or whatever you enjoy to listen to, or you're a fan of, basically this podcast is for you. And I saw you on Facebook, and I thought your band was pretty cool. I looked up some of your music, so I that's why I followed you, and then I figured I'd ask you if you want to do the podcast. So I really appreciate you doing it.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
So
Happy to be here. Believe it or not, I'm a pretty big nerd myself. Real big into video games. I actually play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh on the side.
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So what got you started into music? What is the earliest when you started? Like, is you musically trained, or how did you get started?
Um. So probably my earliest impression into music was when I was a kid. I used to do karaoke and DJ shows with my mom, actually. Um, and then from there, like as I got older, started really experiencing rock and roll. Like I grew up with like 80s rock and roll my whole life, and when I got to high school, I started expanding even further and further. Met this guy Dan, who's my guitarist now. At the time, he was playing drums. We met in high school, started writing some songs together, and him and I have been like brothers pretty much ever since.
That's pretty cool. What was the main influences when you were a kid?
Main influence when I was a kid, I'd say, like the first band that really got me into music was Green Day. Um, Around the time that they released American Idiot, as a matter of fact,
Okay.
fell in love with songs like Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Holiday, and of course, Wake Me Up When September Ends. I was only like 8 years old. I had no business listening to that kind of music yet, but
Yeah, that's the best kind of music. That's cool
yeah.
though. But like, most people, like, if you ask anybody who's like, everyone at some point had songs they probably had no business. Like me, when I was a kid, I can tell you a slew of songs that probably would have got me in a whole lot of trouble for playing that were highly inappropriate. But I'm glad I got to listen to it, even though I probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everybody goes through that at some point or another, or at least anybody that's not completely sheltered in.
Yeah, as long as not, I'll say this way: as long as it influence you in a negative way, as long as it influence you in a positive, because with you actually got a niche, and it made you influence you want to play music. So that to me is positive. No matter what band you listen to, or music, or any kind of instruments, or like anything that influence you, as long as it's in a positive way that you can actually do something with it. Positive to me, it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big thing to take away from it. And at the same time, though, I don't feel like music has that much of an impact on, especially like really young kids. Um, I feel like it starts becoming more influential during like those teen years. When you're real like young, chances are you listen to lyrics and you had no idea what they were talking about. You just enjoyed the song.
You're not registering. You're not. I was thought songs did not register what they were saying until I got older, and then I realized, oh, this song's gross.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But no.
um,
But
so
like
in
what?
that sense, like it's not as big of an issue, I suppose. And then when you start getting into those teen years, those building years, um, I mean, at that point, you should already have like a fairly decent moral compass to tell you, like, okay, like it's one thing for this person to talk about doing that, but I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
a lot of it comes down to the parenting at that point of just keeping your kid on track, make sure that they're not going to be a bad person just because of something they listen to.
No, I don't think it really works that way. you usually, if you're influenced, it's not so much by music. You're influenced by people's behaviors that are close to you. No, not rarely someone gets influenced alone by music. It's something that they're already on that they're only on that path already to something negative. It has nothing to do with the music. It's
Absolutely.
just you're already there. That's just the switch that's been turned on, or whatever, the ignition, or whatever you want to call it, the metaphor you want to call it.
It's another stick on the fire, we'll call it.
This hasn't do anything, but like I forget where I saw on YouTube. It's basically it's this YouTube video where they were discussing the absurdities of people being influenced, and it was and like you're way too young. You've been way too young to even know what this reference would be referring to. But back in the day, I guess the late '70s, maybe early '80s, more late '70s, people were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and people were afraid that people would be influenced by it in some demonic way. So they made these made-for-TV movies, and one play was played by Tom Hanks, and in the movie he got influenced by his Dungeons and Dragons games to the point that he went crazy and he committed suicide or something like that. He was seeing
What?
he was seeing like pictures like clearly don't people never played Dungeons and Dragons because I could never see how that would influence you by rolling dice. I like that was so comical. It's like this has got to be a joke, but no, they were actually legitimately concerned that people would be influenced by the goofiest game.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's
It
absolutely
if
ridiculous.
you
Like, I love Dungeons and Dragons. Like,
yeah, if you want to laugh, if you can find it, you'll cry laughing because it's so dumb. It's like this cannot be real, but it's out there on YouTube somewhere. It's when Tom Hanks when he first started in acting, and this movie's like that'd be like if someone said like say they were worried but someone would play I guess a Pokemon game and they were afraid that the anime would make you go crazy. Like I don't think it works that way. I don't think you go crazy from playing a video game, but if you want to go there, clearly this guy has some other mental problems.
I mean, it's kind of funny you say that because I mean, Pokemon actually has its own whole ecosystem of controversy between episodes causing seizures
Yeah.
and saying that it's basically glorified cockfighting. Like,
That's hilarious. Sometimes sometimes they get absurd. They get to a point where it's not even like logic. It's like, okay, you had me at some point where maybe someone can influence and they do dumb stuff, but never to the point of ridiculous notions that they actually pull out. It,
yeah, I swear they look for any little thing they can these days.
yeah,
Everybody wants to be a critic.
yeah, and I think at one time this is still before your time, but you probably seen on MTV or VH1. I'm sure they did tons of documentaries. But when I was a kid, was it PAMRCA? It was like a women's conservative like group, basically tons of like housewives of senators and governors, and they went after Prince and they went after who was it else? They went after Twisted Sister and some other silly bands, and basically they were highly offended by their silly lyrics or whatnot. So they were going to basically put a parental advisory on all the albums, and they were deemed offensive. And
Yeah, I just saw that on YouTube. I want to say just last week, as a matter of fact.
it's
Yeah, Twisted Sister came forward with a really profound statement,
yeah,
basically shutting down every argument they had.
yeah. The interesting thing about Twisted Sister was the funniest thing about that they were actually they were not doing good in the pop charts. They were not doing very good when they first started. They got booed. Like when Twisted Sister first got on stage and they started singing, people were spitting at them, throwing cups at them, throwing beer bottles at them. They had to take their makeup off to keep the hostile crowd from going crazy. And what made them big, and ironically, was PMRCA. They made them big because that's the stupidity of them. And
Talk about a big backfire, huh?
yeah, that's how they became most iconic band. And a lot of times, when people are intolerant and ignorant, you're showcasing something you supposedly hate. But they had a lot of time on their hands, and like the more absurdity, is petty. Frank Zappa, who was like this, I think he was like some artist, jazz or contemporary musician or something like that. He's
Yeah,
like,
I'm familiar with Frank.
yeah, he went after them. So did Bob Denver did. And that his albums has no lyrics. It's just like instrumental. They had put parental advisory on his album. Like for what? The band, the drums. I don't. What's dirty? That's when you know they're
Really
stupid.
vulgar bass line.
Yeah, that's when you know they're stupid. That's when you know it. This is clearly a joke.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost became coveted to have that parental advisory put on your CD back in the day.
It makes you want to play it even more. The parental advisory
Yeah.
make the album actually more exciting because you're listening to something you had no business listening to. Like
Yeah, especially for like a teenager.
that's the adverse effect, and like you say, hey man, there's some dirty magazines in the back. It's like, what boy would not want to see that? It's like,
Right.
you shouldn't have mentioned it. Why'd you bring it up? I wasn't even thinking about it until you said it. But now I want to hear the song now that you brought it up. Now I want to see how dirty it was. Like, that's.
Yeah, let's see what the big deal is.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what other bands did you listen to as a kid? Well, as you growing up, you get influential in the music.
So one of my other earliest influences would be the band Shinedown.
I know what that band is. I know that.
Them,
Yeah, cool.
yeah, between them and 3 Days Grace. Trying to think like Puddle of Mud.
Okay, that's cool.
It's weird. I like my music taste completely jumps over the '90s. I go from like Motley Crue to all of a sudden bands like Green Day, Shinedown, all of them.
That's cool.
There's not a whole lot in the '90s that I like.
The '90s was not a big, unless you were, I'm gonna say, unless you were an Alice in Chains fan or you were a Metallica fan, or maybe I'm gonna say Pantera, but I almost kind of don't want to count them because I didn't listen to Pantera until I was a lot older. I knew who Motley Crue was, that from the '80s, but I knew who like Metallica was, of course, because they played in rotation all the time. But a lot of those bands you didn't know until you got older when you can like really like you had to venture out to find them. It wasn't like ready available to you.
Right. It's funny how so much music is kept behind closed doors like that. Like when I discovered the idea of screamo, I spent literal years trying to find somebody that would introduce me to it.
Okay.
Like I heard one song on a whim somewhere, and I could never track down that sound again.
That's cool.
It wasn't until I want to say like 3-4 years later, I finally came across one person who introduced me to Escape the Fate.
Okay. Okay.
And like I said, it's weird how it's cut behind closed doors like that. Like in those younger years, like you try asking adults about, or at least when I tried asking adults about it, the usual answer I got was, "Oh, why do you want to listen to that? Like it's stupid."
Yeah, they don't register, and it's like it's a generational thing that they look at their music as always superior to anything that you would listen to. And the ironic part is when they were kids, they get the same treatment because any music, like if you I'm just gonna say a band, not necessarily a band in anyone's generation, but I'm just gonna say like Slayer. Now, if you grew up in the '90s, and I'm gonna say Slayer was probably, I'm gonna say '80s too, but I'm gonna say '90s, even though this is probably '80s as well. Uh, People who listen to like maybe Led Zeppelin, I'm not saying I'm not criticizing, I'm not saying they're superior or better or inferior. They'll probably look at you as like, what is with all that screaming? I can't understand what all that hollering. What is that music? And yet their generation before them, and they looked at it and they say, I don't know what the generation is say. It's say like someone who listened to like standard singing, they will look. That's some foolishness right there. That I don't care what them outfits, those bell bound, whatever they would say. So it's like a
Yeah,
generational thing. Everyone thinks their music is superior and is opposed to just enjoying it as just playing music. And it's
yeah.
weird.
And as I'm getting older now, I'm trying to keep that mentality in mind of everybody before me hated what I listened to,
Yeah,
but like at the same time I can appreciate everything that they've listened to. Why not give newer music a chance? Why not keep exploring?
exactly. That's always a good thing to want to. I would always want to venture out and find stuff. And I found a few bands. I really like your band's pretty cool. I like the vocals and the guitar work and everything. That's pretty cool. That's why I venture out and I try to go through Twitter, and Twitter's not as easy to try to find people. Facebook is easier because at least you can play. Sometimes you can play the music and they'll send you links and stuff like that. And I'm a fan of like
Yeah,
all kinds of music, like metal and other kinds like that. But I like the different like rock bands that they kind of like have different sounds and all together. Do you know? I think it's called the Hun or whatever. It's a Mongolian
yeah.
band.
The
That's
Tibetan throat singing,
yeah,
the Who.
yeah. The Who. I knew I probably was saying it wrong, but
Yeah, not to be confused with the Who from when were they? The '60s.
yeah. If you say it out loud, people will think like, "Nah, I think you're talking about a different band." But you got to spell it
Yeah,
to them like, "Oh, well." Because someone played on a buddy of mine posted on Facebook one day, and I'm like, "This is a cool band. I like this. This is an interesting sounding band. I like that sound."
yeah.
So it's always good to like venture out and like to find new stuff. Um, have y'all been to? I know right now there's no way you can tour. I mean, it's impossible. Have y'all got to do any dates or something like that?
No, we have not. So at the time when we were ready to start playing live shows, coronavirus came in and ruined
Yeah,
everything for us.
that
Um,
sucks.
yeah, it's been a pain in the butt, but we're trying to persevere as much as we can and just kind of keep the hype train going. And it it sounds so corny to say it that way, but
Yeah, no, that's
we're
cool.
we're going about all our releases and trying to make as much content as possible
That's cool.
because of that lack of live shows.
Yeah, but it's all good. I mean, hopefully it's dying down soon. A lot of places is getting more and more accessible to have venues and stuff. It's
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be sooner than later that
Well,
y'all get to play something. Hopefully,
yeah. Here in Ohio, governor finally lifted the curfew, so hopefully that's like one step closer to getting to play live shows.
that's cool. Like when y'all started, where did y'all like? What kind of venues and how was it like when y'all get started? Who did y'all tour with and like that, or who did you play with, or who you open for? Or how do y'all get like when y'all first got started? How did y'all go about it?
Uh, so I mean, mostly what I've experienced is more local shows, just other local bands coming together,
Okay.
which is its own environment altogether. It's different from like a big concert.
Hmm.
It's a lot more intimate.
Okay.
Like you start recognizing people, you start getting to know each other in bands, um, and you develop like a camaraderie with these other bands, whether you're playing the show or not. Like I try to go out of my way if I know somebody in another band, like I'll help them with their gear, carry like loading or unloading,
Okay.
um, and it's all with that hope that someday they'll do the same for us. Um, like last year, I went and seen Dead Bundy.
Hmm.
They're another local artist here that's up and coming. They play more pop punk rock,
Okay.
and definitely go check them out. Those guys are a riot.
We'll
Um,
do.
the guitar strap fell off during the last song, and
Hmm.
he's trying to keep playing while balancing his guitar on his hip.
Yeah.
So I jumped up on stage with him real quick, fixed his guitar strap, and then just hopped off. After the show, he comes up, grabs me by both ears, swear to God, kisses me square on the lips, and says, "Thank you, you are a hero."
That's hilarious.
These guys are just wild. You
Cool.
really you never know what to expect with Dead Bundy.
I like that. It's pretty funny.
Well, I mean, like that's the kind of like relationships that you start building, at least here local in Ohio, is just making friends by doing like the simplest thing like that, you know?
That's cool. Do you ever cool? Yeah, is it a really good music scene in Ohio? Like, no, prior to that, well, I know not now so much, but prior, first since you had started, was there a good scene you can get into?
um, I'd say so. There's a lot of really good talent. It's very close knit, as in we all know each other, but at the same time, there's still that level of uh, I can't think of the word. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Um,
I understand what you mean.
competition.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
still that level of competition
yeah.
amongst each other. Where yeah, we all support each other, we all want to see the best for each other, but at the same time, like we're not going to go too far out of our way because we have our own bands to promote.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Now,
I
like,
mean, we're all struggling to get out of Cleveland just as much as anybody else, you know.
that's true. I got you. That makes sense. Like, what is the main scene? Like, I don't want to. You don't have to say genre, but what is the main scene of the era? Like, what is more prominent in Ohio that people like vacate to?
Um, I would have to say rap and hip hop, and it's not in a healthy way. Actually, it is
No.
so overly saturated. Almost everybody you meet, oh, I'm a SoundCloud rapper. Okay, good
Yeah.
for you. You and a million other people here in Cleveland.
Yeah. It's not good.
But what definitely takes like second place with that is the rock and roll scene. Rock
Hmm.
and roll has always been prevalent here in Cleveland, and it's fantastic.
That's
But
cool.
because it's not so overly saturated, we kind of shine through.
Okay. That's cool. What what bands do you like beyond like local? What if like bands you listen to now? Well, just I want to say bands. What kind of music do you like to listen to now that you would like to that you know play on a regular basis? You can name anything. It don't matter what it is. I shouldn't say bands. Just music in general.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough question because I bounce all over the place really. I mean, I go as far back as listening to like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra. I
That's
listen
cool
to
though.
like a lot of like I'll listen to classical instrumentals.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes I get on a kick. I just want to hear acoustic music. Sometimes I listen to a little old Johnny Cash.
Okay.
Um, I fuck around with a little NF. I'm really all over the place musically. It all depends on my mood. As far as like most recently goes, I've been into real hardcore deathcore music.
Okay.
So like Slaughter to Prevail, Lorna Shore.
Okay.
Um,
That's
yeah, a little bit Chelsea Grin thrown in there.
that's cool. You have a very eclectic kind of way. I always thought that was cool to have a wide variety of music to listen to because I'm not I'm I have me I'm not beyond any I have no talent whatsoever. I have new musical talent. I'm tone deaf, but it hypothetically if I was, I would like to believe that I would have been trying to find inspiration from different sources of music to create something that I would be my very own.
Yeah. And I feel like you noticed that a lot with musicians is that they're not just what they write. They're not just one style of music. Like they do take inspiration from a lot of places. I know I'm not the only one.
No,
I'm nothing special in that regard.
it makes it better. It makes you
Yeah.
appreciate music. Like Tom Arora, I'm pretty sure I pronounce his last name. Well, I should know it. Lead singer of Slayer in an interview one time, he said he listened to Peter Gabriel. He listened to like African, like tribal music. I'm like, I would never thought that. I don't know what I thought he would
Yeah.
listen to, but that's not what I would have picked for him to listen to. So it's a
It kind of reminds me. Speaking of like tribal, I think it's funny how all of a sudden there's such a big boom in sea shanty music
mm-hmm.
because that's something that I've been periodically checking out for like 2.5 years, and all of a sudden
Okay.
there's a big boom on it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to make myself sound like a hipster, but it's like, oh, y'all are just now realizing this is good.
Yeah. Some people always like years behind when something comes out. Like
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm still am. I got to see Soulfly. They came to Lynchburg. That's where I'm from, Lynchburg, Virginia. They came here and they played, and they basically played nail bomb songs. They're not so much Soulfly, but oh crap. Let's see. Let's get cut off, and I'll call him back. It's all good. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. All good. You know what I'm saying? I was listening.
Sorry, go on. You were saying about Soulfly.
I was saying like they just played nail bomb songs, but it was still cool. I didn't mind it. But the band Soulfly has tribal kind of like stuff because the lead singer, well, the band's from Brazil, and their band previous to that, when he was lead singer of Sepultura, was also a Brazilian thrash metal band, and
Okay.
I like that sound. They're I think some other thrash metal bands are from Brazil, but they're the most prominent one I know, and they've been around since the early '80s. They're like a phenomenal band. There's another lead singer now of the band, Derek Green. I think he still make music, but to me is like one of the coolest bands. They're like Brazilian because for the longest time I thought that I thought there's only white guys was in metal. I didn't know that other people contribute to music like that besides them. I didn't know about Bad Brains. I'm not saying they're metal, or I didn't know about. I think it was a band called 24/7 Spy, but they're not. I don't want. They're not necessarily full metal. They're more R&B slash metal. It's weird that those kind of bands existed in that
Yeah.
genre. But I like the fact that they do because it gives them more diversity, and it like because metal is all around the world. I mean, you can go to Thailand. They'll know who you are. Like that, your sometimes your music can reach as far as places you think they don't even own record players or whatever to play it, and they like, oh, they know your band, and they not only know your band, they're wearing your T-shirts,
Yeah.
and I think that's pretty cool.
Um, yeah, it's really crazy because even we've noticed that we actually have a little small fan base down in South America. I want to say around Brazil, and
That is
it
pretty
really threw
cool.
us off guard. Like, how'd y'all hear us?
Yeah, exactly. That's an insane thing when you were like, I can I get your autograph, sir, please? Like, how do you know who I am? I play your songs on YouTube. Like, oh well, I guess you do know. Well,
Right. No, it's a really cool feeling when that happens. Um, but no, I mean, as far as like music around the world, it's weird here in America. We're almost shut off from outside sources. I mean, not entirely. There's a few artists that come that like sneak in, so to speak. But then there's a whole other world of music that we're not regularly exposed to.
no, they're
But at the same time, we permeate everywhere.
yeah, no,
It's
we
so weird how that works.
yeah, exactly. Like it spreads all around the world. I mean, in the last I don't know how many years, I've heard bands that if I would never would have known that existed. I mean, I found them on YouTube. It was this thing, the top 10, not necessarily weird. I don't know how they phrase this bands. One band was basically a Black Sabbath version of McDonald's. It's basically if the McDonald's characters were in a metal band and sung their version of Black Sabbath songs. It's the weirdest thing I've ever. It was the weirdest thing I've
Okay.
ever seen. If you look up McDonald's and look up Black Sabbath and McDonald's, look on YouTube, it's like, this is a band? Like, yeah, this is actually a band. That's actually weird that that exists. And then there's Baby Metal. This is basically a Japanese pop band with backing metal, like, guitars and drums. It's the coolest thing in the world. You think it'd be silly, but
Yeah.
extremely cool. And I wouldn't have known
Um,
that.
I personally don't get into baby metal. I mean, they have their place in music,
I got you.
obviously,
Hmm.
but it's not my cup of tea personally.
It's all good.
Um, but at the same time, like these little girls are making a killing for themselves. You know,
Yeah.
they've got a highly dedicated fan base, and I gotta respect it. You know,
Yeah.
whether I like music or not, I gotta appreciate what they've done. You know, like they're going to be a massive influence on the future of rock and roll.
Yeah, of course. Now I'm a switch gears and like are you what kind of fan of movies are you? A metal? I mean, not metal. Are you a horror fan or are you a what fans of so what you would say you're a fan of more in genres of movies?
You know, oddly enough, I really don't watch that many movies. I get more into TV shows than I do movies themselves. I'm a big fan of story, and
Okay,
I feel like an hour, 2 hour long movie just isn't long enough to get a full fledged story.
I got you. What
Like
shows?
Netflix has been the death of me so many
Yeah,
times because I get
everybody.
hooked on a story,
Hmm.
and I'll binge watch 3 seasons or more in like 2 days.
That's cool. I mean, everyone does. You can't help it. I'm doing that now. What are the shows right now? You don't get like it's anything. What shows lately you've been watching that you got became addicted to?
Uh, One of them is it's called The Resident. It's a medical drama that takes place down in Georgia,
Okay.
and the whole idea behind it is they explore the corruption within the medical system. Anything from like cancer drugs to prosthetics and implants, and big corporations trying to run small hospitals. And
Okay.
it's really fascinating, especially because outside of the band, I'm an EMT for my
Okay.
full time job.
Okay.
So I see some of this firsthand, and there's little things that I see in my normal life that I'm like I really want to see them try to implement this.
Okay. I'm gonna check that out. Anything else?
Trying to think what's. I also watch a lot of anime. Like I just went back and started watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood again for the umpteenth time.
That's cool. I like that. That's pretty cool. Have you ever
I don't
seen
know.
the
I'm
Ozark?
sort of in between shows at the moment, so
Yeah. Have you seen the Ozark?
I have not. You're not the first person to recommend it to me.
That is the one of the most craziest shows that doesn't at first you'll be bored for a second because you don't know what's going on, but like if you stick with it, like it's like a roller coaster of insanity. To me, it's
Okay.
like closer to Breaking. It's like Breaking Bad, but if Breaking Bad start off insanity.
Okay.
Yeah,
Caught my interest.
yeah. I like that's a good one. Another one good one is called Dead to Me. It's with Christina Applegate. Basically a movie about a TV show about a woman is grieving after the death of her husband who was killed by a basically a hit and run, and she's going to these grief counseling places to hopefully deal with the death of her husband. So happens that another girl who goes to those grief counseling places, they become friends, and then she finds out she's the reason why her husband was killed. She's the one who hit her. It's it's
Oh
a,
wow.
that's like they because Netflix has some good shows, and I agree with you about movies don't necessarily, and it's hard to do a movie in 2 hours and get as much information you can to do it because a series will delve into so many places that a movie cannot do. It's physically impossible to do it. To sit there and watch and get everything, you will have to
It's
do it.
such a constrained time frame. It's hard to get so many little aspects. You end up with so many loose ends, or just jump in the shark so many times to
Yeah,
try and get to that end goal.
yeah. It's better. It's better that way, and like a lot of TV shows are really good, especially now. Especially like Netflix, like especially we're in the era of time when like a lot of people can't go out. That's how the what's name the Tiger King became a big hit. I would never watch the Tiger King if it wasn't for if I couldn't go anywhere. I
Right.
said this is psychotic. Someone should be in
I
jail right
remember a
now.
meme about that. It was basically saying like, oh, people are going nuts because they're stuck at home, and it's just like some executive sitting behind an office released the Tiger documentary.
Yep. I mean, it's so crazy. They're about to do a movie about it. I think Nicolas Cage is going to play the Tiger King. He's a perfect person to play it.
Absolutely, he would do it justice.
He's an insane actor that I always thought that is he considered a good actor? And I wasn't sure. And then like for fun, I did a whole podcast on bad movies have big budgets, and one of the movies he did was called Jiu-Jitsu, which is just title alone. It's like a fake Predator movie. I will not advise you to watch it. Do not watch it unless you have nothing else to watch, because it is horrible.
Well, I mean, even our favorite actors don't always bat 1,000,
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. You can't win all of them. Can't hit. The best actors make bad movies. But sometimes they're just fun to watch. Sometimes it's like, wow, how did this get made?
It's good.
I appreciate it sometimes. It's like Sharknado. That became a big hit. Sharks in a tornado.
How far they took that series. So there's 4 iterations of the same idea now?
I think it's 5.
Yeah, my point.
But the premise is so dumb that like this can't be real. And I say, oh, I watched all 5 of them. And I like all 5 of them, but it is so ridiculously bad. It went 360 awesome. Because some movies can do that.
There's another one I think that's absolute worst bottom of the barrel. It's called Rubber, and it's a killer tire that just wanders around.
That sounds awesome.
That's the whole movie.
That sounds awesome. There's one called there's the other shark genre of silly movies. You can if you have Amazon Prime, well, screw it, just go on YouTube and just look and just say shark movies. You'll be astonished how many movies about sharks that have the dumbest plots. I watched one called Trailer Park Shark. Basically, they're basically in a trailer park, and the place gets flooded, and a shark is swimming around eating people. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty much sure that everything went into that shark being made. I'm sure the CGI, the only thing they made was the CGI for the shark, and shark looks like some other commercial for a car dealership or something. Like that shark looks stupid.
That's really funny.
But you can appreciate because, like, I think that's what Sci-Fi is for. The Sci-Fi Channel. The Sci-Fi Channel is mainly meant to make the most horrific movies they can find. Kind of like Lifetime. Lifetime and them both are movies where, like, wow, these seems like movies only made for this channel. They are.
Yeah, I could see that.
I watched a 15-minute movie the other day, called, what was it? It was the guy who played AC Slater from what's the name? From Saved by the Bell, where he played basically the Colonel. It was The Seduction of the Colonel. He's basically think of a muscular Colonel Sanders working in a he's basically the cook and sleeping with the madam or something like that. That was a movie on Lifetime, a 15-minute movie. Even they realize how stupid their network is. I wouldn't advise you to watch it, but it's 15 minutes. You can probably find it on YouTube. It'd be like this. I think it's called Seduction of the Colonel or something like that.
Okay. For 15 minutes, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. And you'd be like, this was a movie? Like, yeah, for 15 minutes. Like, yeah. I mean, you can't go any further than 15 minutes because at past 15 minutes, okay, this is just dumb. But 15 minutes, like, why is he dressed like the Colonel? Why is he so muscular? I don't know.
Gotta get those gains in.
Yeah. Yeah, but once again, I appreciate you doing this interview. before you go, I was going to ask you, do you have anything up and coming you're doing?
Um, as of right now, me and the guys are getting back together. We're writing again. Um, the rest of our EP is scheduled to release later on this year. If you want further updates on that, highly recommend follow our Facebook and our YouTube.
Cool,
Um, we like to put in little Easter eggs in our YouTube videos.
cool.
Uh, Usually our videos are only like a couple minutes a piece. Just something long enough to get an idea across or something. Um, yeah, so we'll put in little Easter eggs when you expect something. We got new merch coming out here real soon. As a matter of fact, it might be available today.
Okay.
And yeah, as far as creatively goes, that's pretty much all I've got going on right now. Is back to writing and finishing releasing.
All right. Oh yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate letting me do this interview, and I'm gonna try to get back to you later because I want to like keep up whatever you're doing because it's pretty fun. I really enjoy your music. It's really awesome. So
Hey, really appreciate it, man. I'd be happy to be back on the show sometime.
cool, definitely. All right, you have a
All right, thanks for your time, man.
you too. You have a good day.
You as well. Bye.
All right, bye. Once again, I appreciate this awesome guy to allow me to basically check out his music and talk about his career and everything like that. The band is called A Dream Analysis. Lead singer Dustin Simmons. I appreciate you again, once again, for allowing you to play check out your music and whatnot. Once again, thank you again, and hopefully we'll get to talk again. And hope you'll check out his music. It's on YouTube. Dream Analysis is the band. So please check them out if you enjoy metal and stuff.